אוקיי, אז תכף דוקטור גורגוריס יצטרף אלינו, אמ, ואני בינתיים מכניסה עוד אנשים. רואים אותי נהדר, יופי. אז קודם כל, ערב טוב וברוכים הבאים, והנה הוא נכנס אלינו, אז רגע, איזה כיף.
Hello.
אוקיי. Hello, hello. Hi, how are you? I'm so excited.
Thank you.
We are all excited and we've been waiting for you. And just 2 minutes before you start, I just want to say something in Hebrew about whatever we're going to experience right now. So, קודם כל, ערב טוב וברוכים הבאים, ויש לנו זכות לארח אדם שבאמת הקדיש את חייו להבנת אחת השאלות האנושיות העמוקות ביותר. כיצד אנחנו יכולים להיות מאושרים באמת? איזה פילוסופיה. אז דוקטור גורגוריס הוא פסיכולוג מהזרם החיובי, הגישה שלו בוחנת לא רק מה שעובד בנפש, אלא מה שמאפשר לנפש לפרוח, לשגשג וגם להתמלא במשמעות. הוא חיבר את הספר שבע הדרכים לאושר, ספר שהפך עבור רבים למפת דרכים, הוא מאוד מפורסם בארצות הברית. הוא מדבר בספר שלו דרך מילים של חמלה, והוא נותן כלים יישומיים גם לחיי היום יום. בעבודה שלו הוא מצליח לחבר בין הפסיכולוגיה וחוכמה אנושית עמוקה. הוא איש מקסים, תכף אתם תראו ותתרשמו כמובן. והכי חשוב, הוא נותן לנו כלים נגישים שהופכים את החיים שלנו ליותר פשוטים. והערב אנחנו עורכים איתו מסע קצר לתוך האפשרות של אושר, לא כאידיאל, אלא כחוויה שאפשר לטפח, לבחור ולחיות על פיה. אז ככה אנחנו מקבלים אותו באהבה. And hi, Dr. Gourgouris, good evening, and I'm so happy that you're here and you're part of our community. And I would like to thank you for guiding us into a deeper understanding of the meaning of happiness and even human flourishing. We are grateful for your presence and your light. And please, you can begin with whatever you feel like. We spoke a little bit before we met, and I had some questions that I wanted to ask him, and then I said, "No, I think we should hear him out because you're amazing." So there you go.
Dr. Tali, thank you. It's so great to see you again. Last time we saw each other, we were in my hometown in Galaxy City. You can see the license plate below
Yeah, I told them in the retreat in Galaxy.
in
Yes,
the
I told
retreat,
them.
yes. And it was truly magical. It was a magical night. Um, wow, happiness. It's kind of hard to define because I think everyone has a different definition of what happiness looks and sounds like to them. I will go back to the original great Greek philosopher Aristotle, who 2,500 years ago shared something so profound. He said, happiness is the whole purpose and meaning of life, the whole
Absolutely.
aim and end of, the whole aim and end of human existence, which is quite a statement. And I don't know if I can improve upon what Aristotle said 2,500 years ago.
Oh, wait a minute. Um,
Okay. Were you able to hear me at all or no? Or should I start
yes,
over?
yes, yes, yes.
You were able to hear me? Okay, good. All right. So for me, Aristotle had it right. And I think humanity has been searching for the meaning of happiness, for happiness for thousands of years. I would say most of the times unsuccessfully. It seems like it's an elusive goal, or it seems like, people struggle. So I want to share some thoughts today with you about how can we successfully navigate whatever challenges we face, whether they're personal or professional or family and so on, while still maintaining our mental clarity, our mental well-being, our mental health, and I dare say even happiness. And is it doable given all the challenge that we are facing. I wrote a book about 10 years ago, and I wrote it from my heart. I was a clinical psychologist before that, and it's really what my patients taught me over 20 years. Um, I didn't write it as a PhD. I wrote it just like I'm talking to you guys, and it became became successful here in the United States, number one bestseller, and that really opened up the gates and the doors to speak beyond the United States and to speak in Europe, in Dubai, every capital in Europe, and so on, and of course my whole home country in Greece. Um, but before I talk, I want to share my connection with Israel and with the Jewish people because I have a very unique connection. First of all, my wife and I visited Israel in 2019, right before the pandemic, and it was absolutely, we travel a lot. I mean, that's how we spend whatever extra money we have, we spend it on traveling and seeing the world. And our trip to Israel was magical. It was meaningful. It was powerful. It felt like home. And of course, for me being Greek, it was very close to home. But the connection is deeper than that. My dad's older brother, who's 96, God bless him. I just saw him. We just came back from California yesterday. He's still alive, never had any kids. So my brother and I, in essence, are like his kids, and our kids are like his grandkids, and so on. About 40 years ago, married this amazing lady by the name of Cheryl Cohen. Now you can get any more Jewish than that. Cohen is as Jewish as it gets. That's a name that's
Absolutely.
it's such a big. So half the family is Gourgouris, the other half are the Cohens, and we blended, uh, kind of a crazy family. Just so you give you an idea, the first time I brought my wife, we've been married for 35 years. We're engaged to get married, and it's our first big family dinner. I'm introducing you to my family. So it's all the Gourgourises and all the Cohens. And it's over Thanksgiving, which was the we just passed here in the United States. And at some point, my wife disappears. My future wife. We're not married yet. And I find her in the back of the one of the bedrooms. And I'm like, honey, are you okay? What's wrong? She goes, I have a headache. I'm like, I'm sorry. How come? She goes, I can't stand all the fighting. I'm like, what fighting? She goes, well, everybody's yelling, everybody. So, Greeks and Jews, we're all talking at the same time, three or four conversations happening simultaneously. And it's kind of American. She's not used to it. I said, honey, we're not fighting. We're just talking. Yeah, we're loud and we're passionate. That's another term for loud. Because loud has a negative connotation. Passionate, on the other hand, has a very positive connotation. So, so that's a connection more recent. The family connection, however, and this is something that I didn't know when I was growing up. I grew up in Athens until I was 10, and then we moved to California with my family. My mom's mom, who also lived to be 97, God bless her, in the 1970s, there was a group of Israelis that came to Greece from Israel to honor her. And they took her out to dinner, and it made, big headlines. It was in the newspapers and so on. We, as her grandkids, knew nothing about what grandma had done. So apparently, you know, Second World War was really rough in Greece. Thessaloniki was especially rough for Jews because it was decimated. I mean, the Jewish community in Thessaloniki was the second largest city. Uh, Pretty much like 90% were killed or sent to concentration camps. My grandmother in Athens had a store. Back in the day, that was her business. That's basically sold the staples of at the time, like cheese, butter, milk, sugar, oil. I mean, which was basically this is how you survived. So my mom, in some ways, did okay. Well, apparently, my grandmother's store had a basement where the food really was, stored in a lot of ways just to keep it cold and so on. What we didn't know was like when the Nazis moved into Athens and it was rough. I mean, people starved to death. It was really rough. She took her neighbors who were Jewish, I don't know how many, four or five, and hid them in the basement of her business, of her work. And she was able to feed them for over a year because she had food. I mean, this was the food that, it was able to, obviously at great risk. Had the Nazis found out that my grandma was hiding Jews, they would have killed her, my mom, and so on. I wouldn't even exist that way. I wouldn't even. Um, anyway, when we found this out, I remember when I was like 15 years old, I was a teenager, and I sat down with my grandmother and I said, "Wow, I can't believe you did that." She didn't want to talk about it. It was an interesting thing. She goes, I said, "Grandma, that's amazing that you did that." And her answer was, she was very short. She didn't really want to talk about it. She goes, "No, it wasn't. Anybody would have done that. These were my neighbors."
But, let me stop for a minute. מה שהוא בעצם מסביר לנו עליו זה שסבתא שלו הייתה חסידת אומות עולם, והיא בעצם הסתירה יהודים במלחמת העולם השנייה, תוך שנתיים במרתף שלה, תוך כדי שכמובן היא לוקחת סיכון עצום, והוא מספר פה על החיבור המאוד מאוד, אתם רואים אותו מתרגש, רואים? על החיבור המאוד מאוד עמוק שלו לישראל ולעם היהודי, הוא לא סתם כאן, הוא לא סתם כאן, הוא גם לא סתם ביקש להיות כאן. אני חושבת שכל הסיפור הזה של המלחמה שעברנו וכל כל ההיסטוריה הארוכה שיש לנו, היא נוגעת בו באופן מאוד ישיר, והוא מאוד רוצה לעזור לייצר שינוי. Thank you, Dr. Gourgouris, for sharing this with us. I think it's very, 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 very touchable, and it touches deeply in our hearts. Thank you.
I know, me too, and it's hard to talk about it. Um, I was astounded by her answer because it was so matter of fact. Anybody would have done this. These were my neighbors, and I'm like, Grandma, I don't think anybody would have done this. I just don't. I don't believe that. And she was like, "No, I don't want to talk about it anymore." And she was like, "That's it." Um, so I think I think what it taught me early on in my life, there's several life lessons that came as a result of that. Number one, in life, um, do the right thing regardless of the potential consequences. You do it because it's the right thing to do, not because you got paid. Uh, you don't give in to fear, or even if you are fearful, you do it anyways. It takes courage. I mean, it took tremendous courage for her to do something like that, jeopardize her whole family. But you do it because it's the right thing to do. So um, that's one of those life lessons that she taught without trying to teach us. I don't know if that makes any sense. Um, and of course, these people from Israel came to honor her, and they took her out to dinner in a big Greek taverna, and the newspapers covered and all that stuff. And my grandma was very embarrassed by that. But if they hadn't done it, I don't think she ever would have told us. I think that's one of those secrets that would have family secrets. Nobody would have known about it. But she couldn't avoid it because it was a big deal. As a result of that, I just feel really at home. You know, when I spoke to Dr. Tali and her group at the end, they're like, "We think you're half Jewish." I'm like, I'm Greek, but I certainly have, certainly Greeks and Jews have a long, long history. I mean, we're on one of the oldest, tribes, if you will. We've been around for thousands and thousands of years and have been persecuted a lot. And, both Greeks and Jews, it's been, but we have survived. And so that's why I want to go back. I think there's something in our DNA for both Greeks and Jews that we're going to survive no matter what. So the question now
Absolutely.
is, no, it
Amen
is.
to
It's
that.
like, yeah,
Absolutely.
no matter what happens, we're going to survive. We're going to figure it out. There's one, we're going to figure it out. So the question now is, okay, surviving is one thing, but is surviving enough, or can we be thriving? That's different. And to me, life is about thriving. It's not just surviving. So now, what challenges is the world facing, and more specifically, the state of Israel? I think are that being surrounded by sometimes enemies. I don't think everybody's an enemy to Israel, but there's the geopolitical challenges. Of course, when I talked to Dr. Tali, you know what had happened that very week? The peace accord had been signed with Gaza. It had literally just happened that week. We had like 3 days into it. None of us knew, is this going to last or not going to last? Or we're going to have a war next week or whatever. It seems to be lasting, but there are challenges. And I asked them. I went around the room and asked them, what keeps you up at night? What's the one thing that stresses you out the most? I would say a third of the people there said my children, the future. war, peace, finances. These are pretty normal challenges that we all face in our lives. But in your particular geography and in your history, you have a history of, significant challenges. Is peace going to last? We certainly all hope so. Are the Abraham Accords going to grow? Where there are more Arab countries and Israel that come to not only recognize the state of Israel's existence, but also create relationships that have financial benefits, economic benefits to both countries, and I believe that is going to happen. I think we're going to see that in the next few years. We're going to have more and more countries once the war is officially over. We're going to have more and more countries do that. And here's I never thought I would see peace in the Middle East in my lifetime. I've been following politics in the Middle East since I was a kid. I'm a fanatic about politics and geopolitics. I study them every day for 50 years. I think there's a glimmer of hope. I don't care what you say about President Trump. He's very controversial here in the United States. Half the country loves him and half the country hates him.
We love him, most of us.
Yeah, but regardless of his personality, I don't want to say anything, but I think he's determined to bring peace to the world. I don't think it's an act. I think, and you could say, well, he's just doing that because he's all about business. I don't really care what his motivation is because peace is peace. Peace means people get to live without fear of getting bombed, without fear of getting shot. They live in peace. Everybody wants that. So
Like
now,
you
right now,
said, like you say, to thrive,
yes,
לפרוח, לשגשג.
you cannot thrive in just war. I mean, there's no way to thrive as a community, as a country, as a people, if we're in a constant state of war. So I'm cautiously, I'm an optimist by nature, by far. In this case, I'm cautiously optimistic that things will turn out. But some of these challenges, they're financial challenges. People are struggling with, um, how we're going to provide for our families. So we have the global challenges, we have the local challenges. What's going to happen with your government? Is Bibi going to be gone next time? Is he going to be on? I mean, he's going to be pardoned. Like he wants a pardon. Who knows? Is it going to be a new government with a new direction? So there are a lot of uncertainty. That's the whole point. And life is full of uncertainty. And things change so fast, technology-wise. AI, what's going to happen to jobs? Is AI good for us? Not good for us? Is it? There's a lot of uncertainty, and all these changes make people feel insecure. Now, let's add some people's personal struggles and challenges. How about a relationship that's not working out? Maybe going through a breakup, a divorce. How about a child that's not only they're not thriving, but they're really challenged, whether mentally, in their education, or finances. As parents, we worry about our kids. So all of those things, and even though we're survivors, human beings can handle one or two, or maybe three things at the same time. They can't handle all of these things happening simultaneously. At some point, they get overwhelmed. So now let's talk about how do people react to challenges in life. And I was a clinical psychologist my first half of my career. So I look at people in four different groups. When they're facing a challenge or a crisis, this is their default. This is where they go to automatically, almost subconsciously. And the first one is the victim mentality. And the victim says, why is this happening to me? Poor me, as if it's only happening to me and not 8 billion other people. But that's how they feel. They get down, they get depressed, they get stressed, and that's the victim. The second one is the critic. Now, the critic is somebody who it gets very frustrated. They're always angry and they're always blaming somebody else. They blame the government, they can blame the United Nations, they can blame Bibi or Trump or their boss, their spouse, their kids. They're always blaming somebody. Somebody's at fault. Why life is so bad. They're always blaming somebody else. And they're usually miserable and angry and frustrated. The third group, I would call them, they're the observer. So imagine you're at a football game. They're not playing the game of life. They're in the stands. And basically, they are so overwhelmed by fear and by all the changes that are taking place, they don't make any decisions. They just sit there and watch. They're kind of go back and forth, but they're not really living life. They're frozen in fear. In English, we have the deer with the headlights look. Deer when they look at
Yeah.
when there's if you get deer crossing and there's a headlights, they freeze up. They that's it. And now, what all three of these have in common is this: none of them move the needle forward to some kind of positive resolution. And certainly, either I'm sad, I'm poor me, I get mad, or I'm just frozen in fear. And none of them seem to take personal responsibility for their lives. This is really important. There's poor me, as if everything's happening to me. I get mad or I'm frozen in fear. Now we have the fourth personality type, which is the call to action for all of you and all of us, is which we like to call the navigator. And the navigator does things consistently and beautifully and lives a life of success and lives a life of thriving and a relatively happy life. Now, there's one thing though, before I go to the what does navigator do specifically, there's something I want to point out. It's not like, oh, Dr. Elia and Dr. Talia, we're the navigators and you're the victim, you're the critic. It's not like that. All human beings have all four of those personality types inside of them. So, and I shared this with Dr. Tali before. When I came up with this idea, I shared it with my youngest son, who at the time was 19 years old. His name is Dimitri. And before I finished explaining in the four personality types, he goes, Dad, I know, I know, I know. I'm like, what do you know? I'm not even done. What do you know? He goes, I know. Because I was about to ask him, what do you think you do? He goes, I know, I know. He goes, I go into victim mode first, which was true. Then I get mad, critic. Then I navigate. And the fourth one is that I'm not very fearful, he said. And I said, and I was amazed of his own self-assessment and almost self-diagnosis. He was exactly spot on. At 19, he had figured himself out. I'm like, how do you have such kind of self-awareness at 19? And I told him, I said, well, my boy, the goal in life is at some point the navigator to move from number three to number two, and eventually to become your number one go-to. It doesn't mean that we're not going to fall back. Now I have to tell you that he's 26 years old and he's a navigator, and he figured it out on his own. He put his mind to it. So here's the thing: if I feel it's human nature to feel like a victim from time to time, I do sometimes, not very often. But if you're going to feel like
Everyone
a victim,
experience it.
of course, it's human nature. But be a victim for half an hour or an hour, not the rest of your life. Be a victim, feel your feelings, be down, but don't do it for 6 months. If you want to get mad, I've got mad at the government before, and I feel rightly so, or some other people. But if I stayed mad at them for 6 months, who am I hurting? Myself or them? Right here. So if you want to get mad, do it, get out of your system, own it, and then move on. So now, of course, in the quickest way, I was going to talk about that later, but I might as well. If you're in victim mode, so what I want you guys to do is to think about, honestly, this is not a test, it's all your own personal assessment. When I'm facing a challenge, what is my go-to immediate response? Do I go into victimhood? Do I get mad? Do I get sad or do I get fearful? Or do I go, I'm going to figure this out? What is your initially? Now, in long term, we want to go into the navigation mode. Initially, I am going to figure it out. So let's talk about what do navigators do? And by the way, they do it successfully. Number one is that they take action. Navigators don't think, they don't have analysis paralysis. We just sit there for try to, no, they move into action. And the
Just
first,
a second, I want to translate a little, okay?
yeah,
מה שהוא בעצם מדבר עליו זה בעצם ארבעה מצבים שכולנו פוגשים בהם במהלך חיינו. אז יש את תודעת הקורבן, אלוהים אלוהים, למה זה קורה לי, למה אתה לא מחבב אותי היום, אתמול, שלשום. יש את הביקורתיים, אלה שמאשימים כל אחד, מפנים אצבע מאשימה לכל אחד חוץ מהם. יש את המשקיפים, ה-observers. הם לא משחקים במשחק החיים, הם רק צופים, מפחדים, מה שנקרא לקפוץ למים, הם רק צופים, אנחנו לא חלק מהדבר הזה. ויש את השלב הרביעי של, אוקיי, הייתי בסיפור הזה והזה והזה, ואני הולך לפענח את זה, אני הולך לפצח את הקוד הזה של החיים שלי, אני לא רוצה להיות במוד הקורבן, אני לא רוצה להיות במוד הזה של אני שם אצבע מאשימה, אני לא רוצה להיות משקיף, אני רוצה לקבל את חיי, ואני רוצה לנהל אותם באופן הכי מיטיבי שרק אפשר. אוקיי, thanks.
what she said, whatever she said, that's right. Wait, Is somebody cooking there? Because I'm getting hungry. Are you cooking? What are you doing over there? I see somebody cooking. Is that cooking? Oh my gosh. It's dinner time, huh? I caught you. That's actually a first. I've never had somebody cook while I'm talking.
I should invite you to a good Jewish
I
meal.
know. But it's morning here. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning here. So time for breakfast. You guys are dick. Anyway, let's get back to navigators. So what they do consistently is they practice self-care. Their self-care is and I'm a navigator 100%, is a non-negotiable. In other words, when I talk about self-care, I'm talking about physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I've had people ask me, isn't self-care selfish? Kind of a strange question. I'm like, if it is, do it more, double down, because you can never truly practice enough self-care. And when we face a challenge or a crisis, you know what? The first thing that goes out the window that we don't do is our self-care. We're like, I don't have time for this because I have an issue that I haven't resolved. You know what I say to you? That's when you need to double down on your self-care when there is a crisis and a challenge. Because if your batteries are empty, would you have your phone be down to 5% and then charge it 5% more to 10%? Or would you charge it fully? And are you not more important than your phone? We never neglect our phone. I can guarantee you our phone never runs out of battery. We always charge it up. Why don't we do that for ourselves? Aren't we more important than our phone? So, but when you think about self-care, most people think about the physical aspect. Exercise moderately, get a good night's sleep, eat, healthy food, and so on. So I'm not going to talk that much about that because I think that's covered a lot. And there's a lot of medical doctors and there's a lot of biohacks nowadays, a lot of people who are trying to cut corners or to find ways to live forever, in essence. I concentrate more on the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual too. And let's start with something that navigators are very, very good at. We've all heard the expression of have an attitude of gratitude. And we know through neuroscience that when we're in a grateful state, neurologically speaking, in the brain here, we cannot be depressed simultaneously. In other words, you can't be in a depressed state and be depressed at the same time. That's physiologically impossible because when we're in a grateful state, guess what happens? All those great hormones, the chemicals in your brain, start releasing themselves into your system. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and endorphins. All
Okay.
those are the happy, go ahead.
The happy hormones, yes, it's the
Yes.
happy hormones, absolutely. מה שהוא אומר, קודם כל הוא אמר שאם הבטריות שלכם ריקות, אם הטלפון שלכם מתרוקן, אז ברור שתמלאו אותו, אז מה, לא תטעינו את הבטריות שלכם? אבל הוא אומר עכשיו יותר מזה, הוא אומר שיש גישת הכרת הטוב, גישת הכרת התודה, שאם אנחנו בעצם, לא כולנו מכירים את זה, שאם אנחנו בעצם לומדים להודות על הטוב, אז כמובן הורמוני האושר משתחררים, כמו דופמין וכמו סרוטונין, ואז אנחנו חווים יש לנו יותר אורך רוח, ויכולת לנהל יותר טוב את נסיבות החיים. גם אנחנו פחות מדוכדכים ומדוכאים, משום שאלה מה שנקרא הורמוני אושר. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
No, no, that's okay. So having an attitude of gratitude when things are going well in life is the easiest thing in the world. You could say, well, can you write in your gratitude journal three different times, three different things every day of the year and never repeat myself? I can do that when things are going well. Well, most of life is not like that. Things don't go well, or things don't work out in the end. So now the question is, can we still be grateful in the midst of adversity? And I claim that we are all graduates from the University of Adversity, every single one of us here. And the older we are, the higher the degree, because we have lived on this planet longer, and therefore we have faced more adversity. Whether that's losing grandparents and losing parents and maybe losing a sibling, or at some point, losing loved ones, basically. God forbid a child. Having financial difficulties, health concerns, health issues, all of these things add to the adversity that we face. So again, the question is, can we be grateful in the middle of adversity? And one of my all-time greatest role models, I love this man. His name is Nelson Mandela, who was imprisoned for 27 years, almost 30 years, came out of prison, forgave everybody, even though he became president of the country. This is unheard of. Usually when somebody's imprisoned, they come out and they get into political power, they kill everybody else that they imprison them. He forgave everybody else, and he had a smile on his face. and he was all love. Well, that's why I love it. That's why I personally respect him so much. He said something so simple and so profound. He said, listen, in life, either you win or you learn, meaning there's
I
no
love
losing in
that.
life.
I love
I
that.
love that because it's so simple. In life, either you win or you learn. So for me, I've taken that statement and have applied it in my life day after day after day because we have all accomplished some things in our life. Even the younger people here in this group, you've accomplished some things already in your life, and you'll accomplish a lot more. But the truth is, the greatest lessons that I have learned have never come from my accomplishments. Those are good, but no, they've come from what at the time seemed to be a mistake, a setback, a human weakness, or human frailty. When I look back, I'm like, you know what? I know exactly why that happened to me because I wouldn't be the person that I am today had those things not happened to me because I learned some very, very important lessons. So, what
Absolutely.
navigators do very quickly, unlike the victim, remember the victim is like, why is this happening to me? Navigators go, why is this happening for me? Not to me. To me makes me a victim. For me now opens the door for what is the lesson? What am I supposed to learn here? I can tell you, even professionally, sometimes one door opened, one company, I lost a big contract, and I'm like, oh no, what am I going to do? Most of my team, and then within a few days or a few weeks, something opened up. It was even better than I had before. And I wouldn't have had that opportunity had this door not closed. But when you're going through it, I'm not saying it's easy. So it's human nature to fall into victimhood and say, why, poor me? Why is this happening to me? The quicker we can change that question, though, and I want you to actually write that down. Why is this happening for me? Whatever is happening in life, why is it happening for me? Because I believe that things happen in the end, no matter how difficult the lesson is, and no matter how painful the lesson is, something good can come out of it. If we don't look at it that way, then we stay stuck in victimhood. And then we get mad why this thing happened to me. So navigators have the ability, first of all, they're positive. I think they're overwhelmingly positive. They believe that no matter what happens, I'm going to figure it out. And that's why they move into action. They don't think too for too long. They're like, okay, what do I need to do to get out of where I'm at right now? And they do that not once in a while. They live life that way. So I think having an attitude of gratitude is great. It's not enough. How can we be grateful even in the middle of adversity? And that's how we do it. We ask for the lesson, we seek the lesson. When we find the lesson, um, we move into action. And your trajectory of your life moves in a whole different direction than it would have been, oh, I'm stuck here. I don't have to be stuck here if I make some different choices. So gratitude, I think, is vitally important. That's number one. The second thing is navigators tend to be very flexible, which is an interesting thing. They're flexible and they're adaptable, meaning they're not stuck in their ways. So I like to use the analogy of the oak tree and the palm tree. I don't know how you say oak tree in maybe
We say עץ אלון, עץ אלון והבמבוק, מה יותר חזק? אוקיי.
okay, so the oak tree, as you know, is this huge, big, huge tree, tall, majestic, beautiful, strong, powerful, can rise up to be 100 feet high and so on. But when there's a storm, a big storm, and there's enough rain and enough saturation on the ground, and then the winds come, like in a hurricane, you see this in Florida here, it happens all the time. Guess what happens to oak trees? They come crashing down on people, cars, homes. This happens every hurricane season. These beautiful trees that have been around forever. If there's enough rain, enough wind, they come crashing down. The palm tree, on the other hand, which is thin, right? Palm trees are thin. They're tropical. They're kind of beautiful.
עץ
At the
תמר.
peak of the storm, now I want you to think about the storms of life now. The palm tree literally can bend all the way to the ground. It goes down like this at the peak of the storm. But when the storm passes, and I want you to think every storm in life has passed, every storm that we have had, the sun comes out and warms us up again, no matter what the storm is, symbolically speaking. Guess what happens to palm trees? Whoop, they go up again. And now they're stronger than they were before the storm because under the surface, the roots had to hold on for dear life while the wind was blowing, 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 blowing to hold on to it. So they are stronger. So the call to action for us is Be more like, when there's a storm, be more like a palm tree, not an oak tree. And I've got over 400 podcasts all over the world. I've shared this story over and over again. And people have said, Dr. Elia, that's a cute story. Be a palm tree, don't be an oak tree. I'll remember that. But what does an oak tree sound like in human form? Like when you say an oak tree, what do you mean by that? Or like what is an oak tree mentality? An oak tree mentality is like, well, this is who I am. This is how I've been for the last 40 years. I'm not going to change now. And this happens all the time. It happens to people, it happens to businesses that refuse to change with the times.
Wow, amazing. This is such a
Businesses that
good
were
point.
Yeah, businesses that were thriving. In the United States, we had this company called back in the day called Blockbuster Videos. Blockbuster. And Blockbuster had you would go to the store, they had thousands of videos, and you go and buy videos. Blockbuster had an opportunity to buy Netflix. They didn't.
Mm,
They didn't
wow.
think that Netflix was a sound business model where people could actually download their videos versus going to a store. Guess what happened to Blockbuster? It doesn't
They,
exist anymore. Guess what happened to Netflix? It's almost like $1 trillion company. Blockbuster was an oak tree mentality. We've been successful all these years. I'm not going to change now. Where Netflix was the palm tree, they were flexible. They're like, there's got to be a different way to do business. And now with AI coming, by the way, you're going to see a lot more blockbusters in the world who are going to go bankrupt, who refuse to
change.
incorporate, yes, to incorporate AI in some meaningful way, either because they're scared, fear mentality, uh, or
Or
because
they're
they don't.
observers
Yeah, they're
on
observed.
what.
They don't know what to do. We don't know what to do, so they stay out of it. Well, guess what? If you stay out of it, your life is going to pass you by. If you think the internet was a major revolution, and it was, AI is from people that know 100 times bigger than what the internet was. How the internet changed our lives. A lot of us are old enough to remember life without phones, without the internet. I know for you young folks are like, how old is this guy? He must be a dinosaur. He must be 100 years old. But there was a time when there were no phones and there was no internet. Okay, the same thing will be said. Your kids will be like, what? There was a time before AI? Yes, there was a time before AI. We're witnessing the biggest technological revolution in the history of mankind. Hopefully, it's to our benefit. Hopefully, it's for good. You know, I'm not a fearful person. I have some concerns about the abuse or misuse of AI or AI falling into the wrong hands. There are evil people in the world. There are people who are bad and who want bad things to happen. I am concerned about that. So, but on the other hand, it's already made our life a lot easier, right? Put things on Chat GPT or whatever, or Gemini, whatever. Boop! In 30 seconds, you get something that would have taken you hours, if not months, to do, and maybe not quite as good. So, flexibility is key. Navigators are flexible. They're adaptable. If one thing doesn't work, what else can I try? They don't say they're not stuck, basically. This is the biggest thing about now. They're not stuck. No matter what, they'll find something else. Now, one of the things that navigators are also very good at, which I think most of humans are not, and I was asked recently at a podcast, like, Dr. Elia, out of the seven paths to lasting happiness, which one is the one that's the least, not the most used, the least used? Which I thought it was an interesting question, and the answer was really easy: lack of self-forgiveness. Most people, in my experience, both as a psychologist and as a coach and as an executive coach, is that most people have not forgiven themselves, don't know how to forgive themselves, haven't actively forgiven themselves, which also has an impact on others. Show me a person that's very hard towards themselves and unforgiving towards themselves, and I'll show you somebody who never says, I'm sorry, never apologizes for anything, never forgives anybody else, who's really harsh. There's a direct link between self-forgiveness and forgiveness of others. And this happens to be my strength. Like if I had a superpower, it's like the ability to forgive self and others, easy. And I don't have anything on my list. And my wife, we met for 35 years. She goes, how do you do that? How do you not have anything on your list to forgive yourself? I'm like, well, it's actually pretty easy. Number one, I don't take myself too seriously.
Mhm.
I don't. I know. I mean, some people are laughing. I mean, I don't take myself so seriously. The funny thing, the older I get, now I have the other excuse. Well, I'm old. I didn't remember that. I don't know. I mean, I can come up with all kinds of excuses of why something didn't work out. Um, but I've done my homework, and part of personal transformation and growth, both spiritually and emotionally, mentally, is that self-forgiveness. For self-forgiveness is the ultimate act of self-compassion. Think about that. There's nothing more self-compassionate than to forgive yourself. So, Dr. Tali, I'm going to go through it how you do it though. This is not just theory. I think this is really
Excellent.
important.
You can skip the Dr. Tali, just Tali.
Okay, all right. So, well, out of respect, I mean, you earned it, so
No,
I'm gonna.
it's fine.
All right. Um, so this is what I do with my clients, and I take them through this. I call the forgiveness exercise. The first thing that I do, and I'm going to ask you to do the same thing, not right now, but I want you to write the steps. I want you to write down every single thing you have not forgiven yourself for, every single thing, small, medium, or large, in bullet points. You know, it could be 5 things, 15 things, or 50 things. By the way, I've had people that have put things on their list that happened over 50 years ago. That means for 50 years, they carried something inside of themselves for over half a century. Okay. When you're done with that list, I want you to put a number next to each one of those statements, 1 through 10. One is obviously the easiest, the lowest. Let's say, you know what? I went out to a company dinner last night and I spilled some red wine on my white shirt and I was embarrassed. It was like I made a mess. Okay, that's a 1. Put a 1 next to it. A 10 would be I actually murdered somebody. Because a lot of people put 10s like, oh, that's a 10. I'm like, did you actually kill somebody with your bare hands? No, then it's not a 10. Did you molest a child? No. Okay, that's not a 10 then. Did you rape somebody? No. Okay, well, that's not a 10. 10s are like big stuff. But there are heavy things that we've all done things that we're either embarrassed or ashamed of. So no matter, so is it a 3? Is it a 5? Is it a mediocre? Or is it a 7 or an 8? I doubt anybody has a 10. I doubt it. Anyway, then you have to find somebody, a trusted advisor, a coach, a therapist, a counselor, somebody to do this exercise that kind of knows how to do it, though. I mean, you don't just pick anybody because I tell you this will be the most vulnerable you will ever be in front of somebody else. So it has to be somebody you feel totally safe with. 100% safe, not 50% safe. Otherwise, until you find that someone, do the first part of the exercise, but you have to wait until you do it with somebody else. And then I take people through this exercise, and we start with the 1s, the 2s, and the 3s, and we gain some momentum. And people feel better about it. They feel a little bit lighter. Then we move on to the 4s, 5s, and 6s, and so on. But a funny thing, this is a side note. I do a lot of executive coaching with people that own businesses, business owners, CEOs, and so on. I did that with one guy. He owned a business, and I went through this process, and I'm starting to explain to him. So, okay, let's get started. Let's start. He goes, "That's not how I want to do it." He was kind of an asshole, basically. He was rough. He was not an easy man to like, even for me, and I like everybody. I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I want to start with my 9s and 10s." I'm like, "Why?" That just seemed. He goes, "This is alpha mentality, the alpha male." He goes, "Because if I can forgive myself with the toughest things, then everything else becomes easier." Actually, I don't give a shit which way you go, as long as you do it. Pardon my French. But to me, it makes more sense to start with the easiest stuff to forgive, gain momentum, lighten your load, and let's move on to the more and more serious stuff. In his case, he wanted to do it backwards, and he did. And it worked. I think it's harder that way. That was his choice. I would recommend start with the smaller stuff and then move on. But whatever works best for you, the bottom line is to do it. Now, here's 2 things that have happened with every single person that I've done this with. Every single person has said, because at the end we burn the paper. We literally go through a ceremony. We light it up, we burn it up, and it goes into the heavens. The paper is gone. It's gone. That list is gone. Every single person has said, Elia, I wish I had done that sooner in my life. Everyone said that. Number 2, they're like, because when they exit my office, they're like, I feel 100 or 1,000 pounds lighter than I did when I came in. I can't believe it. Sometimes those sessions are last 2 or 3 hours. It could be, it depends how long the list is and how deep it is and so on. But every single person said, I wish I had done that sooner. So I would ask you, because at some point the Zoom call is going to end. Do me a favor, don't procrastinate for your self-forgiveness. It's easy to say, yeah, that was a good idea, that sounds good, but then we get busy and then we push it aside. And that's why self-forgiveness, I think, is the least uh, practiced path to happiness. But to me, there's no way
Okay,
it could be.
wait. I want to translate it.
Make sure that they do it is my point.
אבסולוטלי. מה שהוא בעצם אומר, הוא נותן לנו כאן כמה כלים פרקטיים, מה שנקרא, והוא אומר הוא דיבר על המנטליות של עץ אלון מול עץ תמר, וכמה אנחנו מכירים את זה מהעץ הבמבוק וכל מיני כאלה, כמה שאנחנו גמישים יותר בעצם, אז קל לנו יותר עם סט שינויים. הוא דיבר על ה-AI שנכנס מהר ומשנה את חיינו, והשלב הזה שאנחנו נמצאים בו, הוא מדבר על סליחה עצמית, והוא אומר שצריך לעשות קטלוג מ-1 עד 10, על מה לא סלחנו לעצמנו, לעשות עבודה עם תרפיסט או עם מישהו שאנחנו ממש בוטחים בו, והוא אומר שהוא לא מאמין שלאף אחד מאיתנו, אף אחד מאיתנו לא ברמה 10, אלא יש לנו, 10 זה הרצחתי, הנסתי, whatever כזה. הוא מאמין שאנחנו משהו בין 1 ל-3, והוא שואל על מה לא סלחנו לעצמנו, לקטלג את זה, והוא אומר שברגע שמשחררים את המקום הזה, אז אנחנו מרגישים כל כך הרבה יותר טוב. אני מאוד אהבתי את המשפט שלו, על מה שהוא מדבר, זה שאו שאנחנו מנצחים, או שאנחנו לומדים, וזה מוטו, וזה קצת עובד עם האמירה הזו שדברים עובדים עבורנו. הוא מדבר על כך שבעיתות משבר מאוד מאוד גדולות, הוא דיבר על הכרת תודה. והוא אומר שהדבר הכי מאתגר זה בעת משבר להכיר תודה. והוא אומר שאומנם זה מאתגר, אבל אם אנחנו לומדים למלא את החצי כוס, דברים קורים עבורנו, ולדעת שכל משבר הוא בעצם נקודת צמיחה. אוקיי, סורי.
Oh, that's okay. And I don't know, Tali, if you do that for your clients and so on, but I would highly recommend people just find you, find me, or find somebody else to do it with. You will never regret doing that work. You will feel so much better. Your life will never be the same after that.
Absolutely, I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So a couple more things. I think navigators know what their purpose in life is, and they align the way they live their life with their purpose. I think fortunately for me, it's something that I found out very early on in my life, which was I wanted to leave this world better than I found it. So my motivation was to help others. I've been motivated since I was a kid. As far back as I can remember, help other people. And just every interaction counts. Every relationship counts. And when you do that, it never feels like work. I can say that I don't feel like I've worked very much in my life because I love what I do. And I try to live in alignment with what I do. That's really important. So if you haven't taken some time to sit down and say, why am I here? Like on this earth, what am I doing here? How many more years do I have left? And how do I want to live the rest of my life? This would be a good time to do some self-reflection. Get quiet, meditate, practice some mindfulness, because I think that's really, really important. And connect. I'm a spiritual person, so I believe there's something larger than me out there. And I mean, science has also proved that people who are spiritual, not necessarily religious, but spiritual, tend to be happier. There's a direct link between our spirituality. It's not about religion. It's not about church or what temple I go to, or it's not about that. But believing in something that's bigger than us. And in my life, I call it the voice. Now, if you're a Christian, you would say it's the Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost, whatever. It could be your higher self. It could be your intuition. It's that still small voice that when you get quiet speaks to you. It could be your heart, right? In my experience, I've been practicing for 35 years. Every time that I have listened to that voice and then acted on it, it has always worked out 100%, 100%. If you're not spiritual, call it your intuition. I don't care what you call it, but I trust that voice. Now, because I'm not a perfect human being, especially when I was younger, I used to ask why. Kind of curious, like why should I do that? Just curiosity. And sometimes I would hear the voice and not act on it, ignored it. Every time I've ignored that, I've always paid the price. Now,
We,
luckily, it doesn't happen as often anymore. And because I've gotten older and I'm used to it, I don't ask why anymore. I call them downloads. When I download something, I download something and it rings true in my heart. I act on it. I don't need to ask why because eventually the answer is going to come. I'll figure out why at some point. And I believe if I don't find out on this lifetime, we'll see what happens on the other side. Who knows? We'll not. But I'm
but
not worried about it.
we are Israelis. We don't have patience, and you are so
I
Greek.
know. But if you download something and you act on it, you'll see the benefits, is what I'm saying. So
Yes.
trust your intuition, trust your higher self, trust that voice, that inner voice. But then it's not enough to listen to it, act on it. That's the difference between navigators. A lot of people hear it like, yeah, that's a good idea. They don't do anything. Navigators like, that's a good idea, and I'm going to implement it now, either to bless my life, but also the lives of people that I love or people that I have influence over. So that part is that's the spiritual. Whether you pray or you meditate or you practice mindfulness, whatever you do, feed that voice. And that voice can only be heard when it's quiet. I cannot be glued to my phone and scrolling or doom scrolling. Oh, the bad news, doom scroll, scroll, and expect to hear that voice. That doesn't work that way. I got to put this away consciously. So, how much time do we have? So I know how to. Are we
We have like more 10 minutes
okay?
or so.
Well, because I want to ask you.
I would love
Yeah.
if you could speak about a relationship.
Yes, that's next. That's why I asked.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. There's two things. Relationships. To me, real. So let's say you practice all those things. You practice self-care. You're flexible and adaptable. You practice gratitude and so on. And you've done your self-forgiveness. And you know your purpose and vision. But you surround yourself with toxic people. Guess what? It's very hard to find your inner peace and your happiness. And I speak to you as someone that 20 years ago, when I got burned out from being a psychologist, and I paid a heavy price for that because I didn't have any boundaries. I took on everybody, and it literally almost killed me. I made a conscious decision in my personal life and professional, like no more toxic people. I'm done, and I don't have any. And people say that's not realistic. How can you say that you don't have any toxic people in your life? What if it's a member of your family? I'm like, of course it's a member of your family. At least one, probably two crazy people in your family, at least. So this is how you deal with toxic people. Again, this is to put it into practice. How do you eliminate toxic people from your life once and for all? The first thing you got to do is you got to look in the mirror. And you got to look in the mirror and say, how do I show up in my relationships? That's first, before we talk about anybody else. So I'm going to use Tali as an example. How do I show up with her? And let's assume that I show up in my relationship with her with love, kindness, and respect. Okay. For the most part. If I do that, then we're going to have what I call a hot conversation. Hot. HOT, which stands for honest, open, and transparent. Okay. And there's two ways to have those conversations. One of them is with anger and let me, in the name of transparency, and hit somebody over the head with a club. Or you can have a hot conversation with somebody and do it from a place of love. So let's say I felt like there's toxicity in our relationship. The way that I would do it is like, Tali, do I treat you with love, kindness, and respect for the most part?
Absolutely.
And she would say, absolutely. Okay, if that's the case, then because if she says no, you don't, then I'm like, okay, well, what do I need to apologize for? I need to own something. If I've hurt your feelings, I need to know about it. But assuming that she says yes, actually, for the most part, you are very loving, kind, and respectful. I'm like, okay, good. So now I expect you, mom, dad, whatever, boss, whoever it is, I then I
Husband,
expect
wife.
Husband, wife, yeah, all of that stuff. I expect you to treat me with love, kindness, and respect. Isn't that fair? And basically saying, I'm not going to put up with your toxicity anymore. I'm done. And I did that with a member of my own family, which was not easy. It was so hard. It was my brother-in-law, actually, we had been best friends. We married two sisters. Our kids were raised together. We did everything together. But for 20 years, I kind of swallowed if that, everybody like, oh, let's keep peace in the family, peace in the family. Don't say anything, don't say anything. Well, for 20 years, I like took it for 20 years until I finally blew up. I'm like, that's enough. I don't care if it blows up the whole family. I don't really, I've had enough. I'm done. So when I sat down with him and I had a conversation with him, he was 59 years old, by the way, at the time. Big, big, tall guy, prideful, big, but sometimes very sarcastic. Anyway, and I asked him that, and he looks at me, he says, are you telling me I'm the only toxic person in your life? What an interesting statement. I'm like, yes, that's what I'm saying. And then he got quiet for 30 seconds, which seemed to me like 30 minutes. My heart is like going da 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 because it was not easy to have a hot conversation with a member of your family. It's not easy because we were about to blow it up.
But
Okay.
what if it's your mom and she's 80 and she's about to pass away?
I think I think doesn't matter how old somebody is, you still have them. You hold their hands, you're more tender with them because they're older, and say, Mom, for the most part, have I been loving and kind and respectful to you, Mom? Honestly. Yes. I mean, assuming the answer is yes. If the answer is no, then we can't have that conversation. We got to fix it first ourselves. This is yes, my child. That's true. You take good care of me and so on. It's like, okay, well, Mom, I need you to be the same with me too. I deserve that. And you say it straightforward like that. Is it easy to say? No. Is it a must say? Yes. I'm not compromising with toxic people anymore.
And
And
what would you say if it's like between a husband and a wife that are living together 30, 35 years?
I would say the same thing. I'm done with that. So basically, so here's what happened. Um, oh, by the way, he turned to me after 30 seconds and said, well, I don't want to be the only toxic person in my life. And I'm like, I don't either. But if you don't change the way you treat me, here's what's going to happen because we are family. We're going to have a very, very superficial relationship. Like, Merry Christmas, Happy Birthday, how's the weather? That's it. If you want to have an intimate and deeper connection with me, then you're going to have to change. Period. And I'm not negotiating that. This is not it's not I'm not negotiating how toxic. Well, if you're a little bit less toxic, maybe I could no, no toxic. Do I treat you with toxicity? No, I don't. So I expect you to do the same. Now, to his credit, he changed. It's remarkable. Were there hiccups a couple times? Yeah, he got kind of like, hey, you're doing it again. Remember what oh, sorry, dude. I didn't mean to. I'm just frustrated. Okay, I'm like, I don't care if you're frustrated. Don't take it out on me, right? And this is what happened. He became a better husband to my sister-in-law. He became a better father as a result of that. He did the work. He went to therapy. He got counseling. He went deep, not superficial. And he decided, I don't want to come across as some kind of sarcastic asshole, basically. I want to be, and he is kinder. And was it easy for him to change? I don't really know. I don't think so. He grew up in a dysfunctional family, and now we're back like better than we've ever been before. Was it easy to have the conversation? No, but I stuck to my guns. I'm not compromising that. Enough. I've had enough. Now, my mistake was, if there was a mistake, I should have done that sooner. Why did I wait for 20 years? You know why I waited? Because I was afraid.
But
I was
this is a happy hand. And what if it's not going to end this way?
then
What
it be,
what
then you support the boundaries of a very superficial relationship. Oh,
Mhm.
I don't see you as often anymore, or I feel like we're kind of disconnected. I don't feel like, well, it's true, and I told you that. As long as you're toxic, you'll have very little of me. Period. I may come by and visit you, but I'm not going to open up my heart to you. I'll go through the motions because you're my mom, and I'll do it out of respect for my mom, but I'm not going to be very close to you, mom. And if they try to guilt you into it, it's like, no, it's not going to work this time. That story you're telling yourself right now, it's not going to work because I'm done. So I don't care what you do. You need to figure it out. You want to have a deeper relationship with your daughter or your son? You need to make some changes. And anybody can change, in my point. They won't change until they know you're serious. They'll test
Yeah.
you. because that's human nature. Maybe they'll test you consciously, or maybe they'll just fall back into old patterns and start, dumping all their toxicity on you. And you got to go, whoa, 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 time out. We had this conversation 6 months ago. You're doing it again. So I'm going to take a time out from you for the next 6 months. I'll see you in 6 months, or 3 months, or 3 weeks, or 3 days, whatever the boundary you want to set. You do it once, you do it twice, you do it 3 times. They'll get that you're serious about it. And if they don't want to have a relationship with you, then that's their loss. It's their loss because I show up good. I love you. I show up. I support you. I care about you. I love you. I respect you. I'm kind to you. Guess what? You're going to lose that from me. I'm not going to be unkind. I'm just not going to be around. And around, I don't mean it physically. I mean emotionally. I'm going to be like, well, okay, that's my boundary. Now my wall went up. Or do you really want to have a close relationship? How many years, Mom, do you have left on this earth? Not that many. How do we want to end our relationship before you die? By being distant one with another, or being really united and being loving and kind? Those are not easy conversations to have, by the way, but they're mandatory. They've become easier for me now because I've practiced them a lot. First couple times I did it, I was scared to death. What if this doesn't work out? What if I cave? What if she manipulates me? Or what if they, whatever, like, it could be all kinds of things. In the end, they'll thank you for it. Initially, they may have some resistance, and you got to be okay with it. I don't care if they don't like it. Most people don't like boundaries. It's a fact. They don't like boundaries. But imagine having a life with no toxic people in your life. How great would that be?
Heavenly. It's heavenly.
Because toxic people withdraw from your account, from your love account, from your
Yes.
happiness account. It's almost like they suck the energy out of you. Okay, well, I did it for 20 years. I had enough, and I should have done it sooner. And I'm so glad I did, and it worked out. Anyway, so the last thing I want to share with you has to do with kindness. Kindness is love in action. And this was my very first life lesson. So I'm going to end this talk with my very, very life lesson. I'm 5 years old in Greece. I'm sitting on my grandpa Elias, whose name I carry, on his lap, and he died after that. I don't have many memories of my grandpa. I remember he was a gentleman. He was a sweet man. I don't remember much. I looked like him. I had blue eyes like he did, and blonde hair when I was younger like he did. But I don't remember much. But he said something to me that changed my life. When I was 5 years, I'm sitting on his lap, and he's like, and he was dying from prostate cancer. I didn't know that at the time, but he was, towards the end of his life. He said, "My boy, do you want to know a secret?" And I'm like, "Yes, Grandpa." He said, "Do you want to be the richest man in the world?" Now, at this point, my ears became like, who Bugs Bunny is? Bugs Bunny. Boo! Big ears. Bugs Bunny ears. I'm like, "Yes, Grandpa." He goes, "If you want to be the richest man in the world, do something good for somebody else every day. And you, my boy, will be the richest man in the world."
Amazing.
Now, my 5-year-old little brain somehow caught that, okay, do something good every day for somebody else, I'll be the richest man in the world. At the time, obviously, I thought the richest man in the world was like Pirates of the Caribbean, like gold and silver and, diamonds and all that stuff. I'm a kid. But when I became older, I realized his wisdom. If you're ever feeling down on yourself, or you're kind of depressed, whatever, go out and do something else for somebody else. And something magical happens. Because with kindness is a win, 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 win. It's four wins. Obviously, the receiver wins whenever we perform an act of kindness. Whoever is on the receiving end, it could be a homeless person, it could be your mom, it could be anybody. They win. Now, neuroscience has taught us that when we perform acts of kindness, and by the way, not random acts of kindness, conscious, deliberate, mindful, there's nothing random about them. When we perform acts of kindness, the hormones in our brain get released and they stay into our system for 24 hours. Think about that. The hormones, the drug dealer, I call him the drug dealer, the human brain, releases their hormone because we feel so good when we do something good for somebody else. So that's the second win. The third win is the relationship between the giver and the receiver. There's something magical that happens, that exchange. It could be short. They win collectively. And I think the fourth win, which is actually even more important, is whoever is observing gets inspired. They get inspired like, wow, look at that. I want to go out and do that as well. I just finished producing a movie called For Such a Time as This, which is about how a small act of kindness created a global movement called Kindness Worldwide. And this movie just came out, which is a documentary feature film. It's going to start going to all the film festivals around the world. And we in the movie we share how small acts of kindness can change somebody's life forever. And it's so powerful because I think with kindness everybody wins. And navigators do it because their own batteries are full. So they go out and perform acts of kindness all the time. They don't even think about it. I don't think about the acts of kindness. I do something good for somebody else every day. It's second nature. I don't think about it like, oh, I haven't done something good for somebody else today. I've got to find something. No, it just happens because if you look, the opportunities are there everywhere you go. At the grocery store, somebody's scanning all your stuff, and their name is Tali. They're like, look at their name and call them. Thank you, Tali, so much for. Hope you have a great day. Look, make eye contact and call them by name. Thank you, Joseph. I appreciate you. Because most people don't say anything to them. They'll remember that. They'll break into a big smile. You made their day, and you made your day too when you do that. And it costs nothing. We just have to be aware and decide that I'm going to become a kindness advocate in this world. I will every interaction that I have with another human being, I'm going to plant a deposit of kindness in their hearts. Most people, when that happens, they pay it forward because they were on the receiving end of kindness. Now they're like, oh, wow, that was really nice. Maybe I'll be nicer to the next customer, and so on and so on and so on. And Dr. Tali, you probably don't know this, but a couple of weeks ago, I was interviewed on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, which I've never been to. This was like a dream come true, kind
I
of a
know.
weird thing.
I
That
know. I
the
saw you.
on the
Hmm.
floor of the New York Stock Exchange, I know, which is the heart of capitalism, the heart of Western capital, like the cradle of capitalism. That you're in the heart of like money. Guess what I talked about? Guess what the interview talked to Dr. Elia talked to us about kindness in the workplace and the impact that it has. And I thought to myself, wow, we have come a long way when anyone, not me, anyone can be on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange and talk about kindness at work. This is huge. And more companies and organizations are figuring the, which is obvious to me, to us, that if you practice kindness with your employees, then your employees
Ye-
practice kindness with your customers.
Yes.
And when
Yes.
your customers are happy because they're on the receiving end of kindness, they buy more of your products and your services, which makes everybody more successful financially. So kindness pays off in more ways than you know. So those are kind of my thoughts about what this is what navigators do very, very well. And the last thing I would say to you is take action from some that I share with today. Take one, at least one thing and say, I'm going to implement that. I'm going to use that in my life from now on. If you do more than one, good for you. But if you do at least something different, otherwise this talk will have been okay. Well, this was a nice talk, was kind of entertaining, whatever, but we go back to business as usual tomorrow. I don't want that to happen for you guys. Take something that resonated with you. Say, yeah, I need to do that. And then do it and not do it once, but do it consistently, meaning on a daily basis until it becomes a habit. Because we're all creatures of habit, all of us. So the last thing I'll share with you is do not procrastinate your happiness. Don't
Mhm.
wait for when. Most human beings live in the when phase. When I'm in the right relationship, when I have enough money, when I get married, when I have kids, when my kids grow up, when my kids get married, when I retire, when. Forget all the whens. There are no guarantees anyone of us is going to be alive tomorrow. So give yourself that gift, live your best life starting today, and enjoy life and thrive in life because life is way too short. And life could end just like this. So those are my thoughts. So Tali, thank you for having me.
Make the most of it. And this is exactly your answering to the one question I wanted to ask you in the end. And thank you so much. I will sum everything and I will send it to everyone here and of course to others also. And thank you so much for giving us so much of your knowledge and time. And I'm really, really appreciate it. And you, of course. And I hope I will see you here in Israel.
Hey, invite me to speak in Israel. I would
I
come.
will.
Tel Aviv is calling me. I'm coming.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we will speak later, of course, and really, thank you so much. יש, one moment, יש מישהו שרוצה לשאול אותו משהו? אוקיי, אז אני אסכם את הכל ואני בעצם אשלח לכולם. אולי אני אפילו אקליט ככה את הסיכום שיהיה יותר קל למי שלא הבין את האנגלית עד הסוף. But everyone says thank you. So thank you and see you soon here in Israel.
It's my pleasure. Yeah, if you got a company, organization, whatever, I do a lot of employee engagement. I work with a lot of business owners basically and help their create cultures of kindness and create cultures of positivity and eliminating toxicity in the workplace a lot. So it's something that I'm passionate about, and that's what I do. I work with senior leaders and help them with their turning their companies around because it all impacts the bottom line. Believe me. Plus,
I know.
it's a more fun place to work. I mean, you have all
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
And we spend
Eh,
so much time at work, so that's important. Like I don't want to be miserable at work because if I'm miserable at work, I'm going to bring that misery to home. Most of us do that,
yes,
right? If I'm
yes,
happy at work, I'm also going to bring that energy to home. How's your day today? Great. How's your day today? Oh, it sucked. Whatever. I'm going to bring some kind of energy when I come home from work. What kind of, who am I going to walk through the door? The cranky one, the victim one, the
observer.
observer,
Yeah.
or is the navigator going to walk through and say, you know what? Yeah, we had some tough things to handle today at work, but we navigated through them successfully.
Somebody writes here that we should we should invite you to our government.
Listen, I will talk to any. Well, I used to be the mayor here. For like I served in my community city council for 10 years, so I've been elected 3 times here. So I've done the government thing. I know in America, anyways, and I'm passionate about that government. But any organization that's big is dysfunctional, to say the least. And we live in a world that's so divided. It's time for us to unite and find what we have in common versus what we divides us. Because division is not good for anybody, you know.
We know,
So,
Can
we
I
know.
ask one question?
of course,
Okay, so how would you recommend to find the balance? Because even if I love my work, sometimes it's really exhausting. And then I know that I need to go and take care of myself, like go to exercise, but I'm too tired and kids and everything. And I think my challenge is to find the balance between taking care of myself, and I wish to do that, but I never get to that as I should, and between life and work.
I think it's a great question because people ask me that all the time. What about work-life balance? I'm like, there is no such thing. They're like, what? There's truly no life-work balance. I mean, that's a statement that people are like, oh, life-work balance. There's no, is there a 50-50 life-work balance? No, there isn't. I like to see it as more like life-work integration, meaning how do we integrate our work with our personal life? Sometimes there's going to be more emphasis at work because there's more deadlines or there's something that's happening at work that's more important. So maybe it's 65% when it's work, work. But in other times, it's not quite that way. So we focus more in our personal life and in our relationships. And this is where the flexibility comes in. There's no actual 50-50 like work balance. That doesn't exist. That's just a myth. No, if you find someone that's 50-50 balance all the time, work and life, tell them to call me. I'd like to interview them. It doesn't exist. But to integrate, sometimes we do need to put more energy in our personal life, more energy into our relationships, more energy into our family because there's things that are really important. So family becomes a little bit more important than work. It moves up a little bit. But so it's constantly moving back and forth. So if you think of it from that perspective, it's like, okay, yeah, last week I didn't practice a lot of self-care, actually hardly any, and I'm kind of depleted. This week I'm going to focus more on myself and my well-being. So then it moves up. It's like the waves in the ocean. It's constantly moving. It's never still. It's never 50-50. That's a goal that nobody's ever going to get. But that people strive and then it feels frustrated because they don't have life-work balance. Well, you're never going to get it that way. But if you think about it, integration, in and out, a little bit more here, a little bit less there, a little bit more there, then that's what life it can be all about.
That's a brilliant answer.
It's a great question, though, because people ask all the time, what about life-work balance? It doesn't exist. What? People are like, what are you talking about? I make all my money talking about work-life balance. Well, is it true though? By the way, whatever I share with you guys, I do myself. I won't share something, or if I don't do it, I'm going to say, you know, that self-forgiveness. I don't do that. Whatever I shared with you today, I do it, and I do it on a consistent basis. Ask my wife. No bullshit. I do it. Otherwise, if I don't do it, I'm going to tell you. You know, that's a good idea. I just don't like doing it. But I feel like that's not very authentic though. So either you do it or you don't do it. And so many people get up there on stage and they talk, and when you look at behind the curtains, behind their personal lives or whatever, it's a disaster. It's not like that here. It's not a perfect life by all means, but I constantly search for points of connection to connect with people. That's the most important thing to make them feel understood. That's another gift. Talk about kindness. Listen to other people when you're together with the third ear, not these 2 ears, like the third ear, which is in your heart. Hold space for them. You don't have to fix it for them. Just listen to them and support them that way. That's a huge deposit into your relationship, especially in a marriage relationship or, you know, intimate relationship, I should say. Listening without trying to fix somebody else and hold space for them. They're smart enough. They can figure it out on their own. You can support them. You're not here to fix anybody else. You can't fix anybody else. You can love, you can support, you can be there, but everybody's got to do their own work. There are no shortcuts there. Yeah, you can take pills, but pills only deal with symptoms. Pills never deal with the underlying cause that created those symptoms. So, all right. That's my 2 cents, as we say.
Thank you so much. We are going to be in Galaxy D in March. I will speak to you about it. So maybe you will come.
I'm planning on I have a couple of lectures in um, March. Yeah, I have a couple of lectures in March, you know, so I'm hoping to be there. And then
Yes.
I have a happiness conference in Amsterdam in April, the 14th. And then the biggest one is the World Happiness Summit, which is the biggest wellness
Wow.
conference in the world. It's in Lisbon this year in Portugal.
Really?
Yeah, Karen Guggenheim, you know, the World Happiness Summit is the biggest, like in the wellness sphere, the World Happiness Summit is the biggest conference in the world that exists. And I got very lucky. Karen Guggenheim, famous name, the
Yes,
Guggenheims.
we know them. Yes.
Yeah, she asked me to be the keynote. So I'll be coming to Lisbon. This is another dream come true. You know, in life we all have dreams, right? They don't all come true, but sometimes they do. And this is a big one. This is the like in my field, it's like if you're an actor, you will go to the Oscars, you know. For a keynote speaker, the World Happiness Summit there's nothing bigger than that for me. So I'm really excited, nervous a little bit, but it'll be
Mhm.
good. It'll be good.
It's going to be excellent, I'm sure.
Yeah. So I'll
Maybe
be
I'll
in
come.
Europe.
Maybe I'll come and see you in Lisbon.
Yes,
Okay.
for sure. Yeah, I want to say yeah, it's in May 15th or 17th or whatever. It's here somewhere. Yeah. It's worth
Okay.
it. All right.
It is
Great to
absolutely.
connect with you guys. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you so much.
And I know it's not yet Friday, but I was going to say Shabbat Shalom. That's all I know.
This is all you know, yeah.
It's not yet, but when, you know, in a few days, imagine me saying that to you in a few days, in 3 days.
Okay.
All right. Take care.
Okay.
All right.
Have a great weekend and Merry Christmas, of course, and speak
Great
soon.
seeing you and your smiling face. It's always good to see you. We'll see you in Greece for sure. All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye. I got it. Let's go.